Welcome to r/MaliciousCompliance, where we share stories of people conforming to the letter, but not the spirit of a request. Thank you, friends, for subscribing to the channel, and for so many likes. The first story: store manager yells at me and tells me to worry about my own department. The second story: Karen points out my mistake and break of community rules. I start calling her out for every little mistake she makes. The third story: idiot junior instructor ignores briefing and wanders into an active military exercise. Today's first story is, worry about your own department. Okay. I've worked at a national grocery chain for the past decade plus, in various roles along the way. A few years ago, I was at one of the first stores in the entire company to have online ordering. I'm sure you've seen it near you. Order online, come to the store, we bring it out to you. When it first rolled out, I learned very early how to do every stage of the process, even though it wasn't my job title. It impacts everyone in the store, so I wanted to know the ins and outs of it, so that I would be ready for what it meant to me. The pickers, at my store at least, shop for multiple customers at once. The computer generates a list of barcodes that are stuck to brown paper bags. Then the handheld computer sends the picker from one end of the store to the other in a zigzag pattern, up aisle 17, down aisle 16, up aisle 15, etc., ending in produce. On this trip, they're usually picking 3 or 4 separate orders, sometimes more depending on how big they are, or how many orders there are. The handheld computer tells them what item they need, then what bag to put it in, based on the barcode that is stuck to the bag. Then they move to the next item. Rinse, repeat. Early last November, my current store started doing online ordering. They couldn't get anyone to transfer from nearby stores, so they had to hire an entirely new crew and send them other places to be trained. This training only lasted a few days, then the system went live. Even the department head was one of these new hires. No one knew what they were doing. Whenever someone pulls up to get their order, a loud doorbell in the pickup office rings. This office is right by my department in a major hallway, so I can hear it. In the first week, this doorbell would ring and no one would come back to the department to get the order. They'd just keep shopping for the order they were working on. They had a phone on them that also chimed, but they ignored it. This led to long wait times and unhappy customers. I started paging over the intercom. Anytime a customer was waiting for pickup, I would get orders ready so the pickup clerks just had to take them out. Whatever. My department never suffered for this help. It was something I could do quickly and efficiently to help keep them afloat. Well, one time a customer called the store directly and I happened to answer it. She said her pickup time was at 1. She got there at 1 and she had been waiting for 30 minutes. She was peeved. I got her name and checked the computer and saw that the shopping for her order wasn't even complete yet, and none of the pickers were shopping for that order. They were picking orders that weren't due for pickup for another 3 hours. I called my store manager and told her what was going on. She yelled in my ear, "Why are you even answering the phone for them? You need to stop making pages, stop hovering over that department, and worry about your own." Not what I expected, considering I had the most experience with online ordering, and these new hires had no idea what they were doing. My store manager knew this, but I said all right and hung up with her. I picked up the phone call with the customer and told her it would be a while, and that I was unable to help her further. I also recommended she come in and speak with the store manager if she had any concerns. I went back to my department and started working. It only took a few minutes before I heard the store manager being paged to the front, and the shouting that ensued could be heard in every corner of the sales floor. But it doesn't end there. As I said, this program was rolling out in November, and Thanksgiving was just a few weeks away. I stopped helping in any way. No overhead pages, no staging orders, no answering phone calls, nothing. The amount of orders skyrocketed, and the department was constantly incredibly far behind. They routinely had to call customers and tell them they'd have to come later in the day, or even the next morning. Pick time plummeted, wait time skyrocketed, efficiency ground to a halt. It was horrible, and I just kept my department in tip-top shape, giving the new hires sympathetic looks whenever I would see their beleaguered faces. Eventually, the store manager came to me and asked for my help. I'd love to help, but I was told rather emphatically to worry about my own department. Now, I knew that I was in no position to say no. If the store manager told me to do something that I was trained to do, saying no was insubordination and a fireable offense. But that didn't stop me from reminding her that it was her who put them in that situation to begin with. I took great pleasure in the sigh she gave and the genuine apology that followed. I accepted her apology and went to help. The workers are much better trained now, and for the most part the department is running smoothly. I no longer have to help as much as I did in those early months, but my store manager is happy to have me when the need for help arises. The second story is, housing cooperative peeves me off. This may paint me in a bad light, but I don't care that much. Just a note that this happened in Poland. I'm living in a block of flats with slightly higher standards, meaning we have a gate in our own parking spaces, trash cans, camera system, and everything. I work as a programmer and remotely. I'm also single and I keep mostly to myself. Try to never harm anyone, not get into any drama, just live slowly and steadily alone. Barely leaving home except doing groceries. So my neighbors know me as that homeowner that never causes any problems, and is always helpful and polite. One time I had to replace my current bed. It was old, dirty, and I just wanted something better. So I ordered a new bed and dismantled my old one, ready to be taken out. Once every 2 weeks, a truck comes in and checks through the neighborhood to take away all the big things, set besides the trash containers. That day was tomorrow. Sadly, I live on floor 3, so taking my old bed alone would be just too hard for me alone. I asked my brother for help, but he couldn't have it done tomorrow, so he helped today. Now, before this, our block's terms of service say that you're not allowed to put out big trash, except on the day the truck comes. So, not wanting to make any outburst, I asked my favorite neighbor for a favor. If I could put it on his parking spot the day before, because, well, I wouldn't be able to do it on the correct day. He gave me a thumbs up. Then I checked with another member of Housing Cooperative Board if it's fine, since the owner of the spot knows. He also said it's okay for him. I moved on with the plan. My brother came in, we moved my old bed outside, occupied the spot, and called it a day. That's when Karen came in. She's around 50 plus years old from looks. You know, the type that sits whole day in the window and tries to find something to complain about? She got into my home and tried to explain that it's against our community rules, so I had to have it taken away right now. I, in exchange, tried to explain to her why I did that, how I got approval from people and whatnot. She was not having it. She threatened to call the police on me for littering if I didn't get it done today. I said sure, okay. I guess I am technically in the wrong here, so I'll just comply. I called private company to take away the bed today. I also specifically went to her home and told her it would be done today. She said it's fine. So the truck arrives. They start taking away bed and so does the police. Apparently she already did call the police without waiting for me to do anything. I am livid and literally panicking, not because I was afraid of a fine or anything, but just because it was the first time in my life that someone did something hostile for me, even though I said I'd do what she wants. I explained the whole situation. The police see no problem. They don't even cite me anything. They just give me a handshake, pat my back, and leave. The lady that called the police looks out the window and yells, "Thank you, officers," with a grin. I'm ever more upset at this point. I think to myself, you want to perfectly obey the law? Fine, I'll make sure you do. I got the community rules from the council and studied them thoroughly to find potential reasons to make her life hell. I see her taking out the trash. I clearly hear glass bottles in the bag. I look out the window. She throws it in the wrong container. I call the community board. Bam, your rent went up because you don't comply with our sorting garbage rules. Next day I come back from groceries. I see her car. She parked a little over the line, so it's basically taking up 2 spaces. I call the police. Bam, she gets a fine. She walks out her dog in our private space. As I watch her through the window, I see her dog pooping, but she doesn't scoop it up. Oh, did you just do that? I call community board with a complaint. She came to me and wanted to apologize. Now here's the part that makes me look bad. I said no, I don't accept it. Why? Because I'll admit I am vindictive to people who try to create trouble for others, without a very good reason. I said, all I'm doing is making sure you are following the community rules. Is that wrong? And she scoffed at me something rude and went away. I've been doing that for like 3 months now. A month ago, she was kicked off the board for too many rules violations. Today, she moved out, but before she did, she made sure to put a bag of trash on my doorstep while I was away. Sad for her, she's stupid and the trash contained a letter with her information on it. So I had the last laugh by reporting it to the police. I know, rules are rules. I was technically in the wrong first for breaking them, but the moment she went out of her way to enforce them and then screw me anyway, that's when the line was crossed. I have no shame for bullying her out of here. I was just doing the God's work and ensuring that the rules are not broken. The last story is, always follow the rules of engagement. About 15 years ago, I was an Army ROTC cadet, heading through the Basic Officers Leadership course. It was 3 weeks of extended testing on the skills we were supposed to have learned over the last 3 months, mostly about receiving, interpreting, and implementing orders. The largest part of the course was STX, Situational Training Exercises. These were small missions with blanks or paintball guns. Only the cadets in leadership positions were evaluated during exercises, and we were given strict and repeated instructions to follow our orders as briefed. If you improvised and completed a mission by going against orders, the leader being evaluated would receive poor marks. This led to some hilariously bad decisions that no one contradicted. The worst being when we were ordered to wear glowing chem lights on our uniforms during a night mission to help us stay together. I'm sure even without any military training, most readers can guess how a shootout goes at night, when one side has bright glowing targets attached to their chests. The instructor took a lot of effort to make us think and observe. It wasn't just force on force. We were also taught to deal with civilian checkpoints, work through interpreters, handle embedded media, and a lot of other complex scenarios. Many of our opposing forces were special forces guys taking an opportunity to instruct, and possibly torment, new officer candidates, and making things as close to real life as possible. After 2 weeks of these constant drills, we finally reached our final graduation mission, the Dawn Raid. We would be trucked to a starting location, night march about an hour to get into position, then have a pitched battle in the mock town. There were multiple extra safety briefings because the raid was to start with an explosive breach on the largest building. As we were loading up, we got 2 final and very important pieces of information. First, this was our graduation mission, and there was a very high probability that there would be VIPs coming to observe. They had all been instructed not to interfere or intrude, but we should be on the lookout anyway. Second, this was a free-fire mission. The town was considered free of civilians, and every military-age male is to be considered hostile. After 3 weeks of bad food, poor sleep, and constant pressure, we were all due for a dose of catharsis. This was our final mission, and we had just been told the gloves were off, and we had strict instructions to follow all orders, especially rules of engagement to the letter. As my squad got into position for the opening assault, there was a ripple of silent hand signals going up and down the line. Target sighted, hold fire. The morning was just starting to lighten, and I could just make out a human silhouette about 50 feet away, leaning up against a dark but definitely civilian model truck. There were 15 of us lined up and primed for violence when on the far side of the town, we heard the sharp crack of a door being explosively removed from its frame. This was followed immediately by an impressive stream of expletives from our target, as 15 paintball guns opened fire from painfully close range. I can't say just how much paint my squad unleashed in those few seconds, but I put out a full hopper of about 100 rounds. The rest of the mission went mostly by the book, rushing to good defensive positions and clearing buildings room to room. At the end, the base commander, a full colonel, came out of his truck, sadly paint-free, to congratulate us with cigars and some words of wisdom. After his short congratulatory speech, he turned to address a young lieutenant that had come out of the woods covered head to toe in yellow paint, and with large bruises on his neck and face, and berated him up and down for not wearing protective equipment. The next day, as we were in the barracks cleaning our field gear for turn in, the same LT drove up in a truck that had once been a dark green, but was now painted yellow on one side. We had shot it up enough that the original paint had been stripped off in places. He had cleaned up, but it would take weeks for the black eye and other bruises to fade. He stepped out, looked at us with clearly faked confidence, and ordered us to wash his truck. I hope you enjoyed these stories. Hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.